I'm Dr. Mitch Harlan, and welcome to the Truth Talks podcast and the new show, Think Differently with Dr. Mitch. Glad all of you guys could join. I have a guy coming on this show today that I'd heard about, I've now learned about, and he's going to bring you information that is absolutely mind-blowing. Garrett Gunderson, you really don't need any introduction, but say hi to all of our listeners.
Hey, it's good to be with you, man. We'll have a good time.
This is the long hair, bearded money guy. That's what gets coined out there at times. I want to start out with what I consider one of our best assets, and that's people. So I got to give a shout out to Roberto Monaco. Without Roberto, this may not have happened. Insanely good business speaker in and of his own right. And then we got to throw in Michael Drews, right?
Yeah, man.
Michael Drews, man. I just meet this guy. I tell him, hey, listen, I'm getting ready to do a show with Garrett Gunderson, and you are also a New York Times bestseller with the use of Michael Drews. So I wanted to throw that out there too. It seems like the more that you study, the more knowledge you gain, and the more that you bring in your social network. Isn't it funny how you end up with all those people that you kind of looked up to, and then you're all of a sudden you're now talking to them?
Well, like Roberto, one of the most instrumental, if not the most instrumental person in my life for being a speaker and getting better. And Michael, instrumental in me becoming a better writer, because I had this self-published book when I met him. And he's like, well, let's rewrite it. There's a different way to write it. There's 4 types of readers. And here's the things I want you to learn. And I was like, oh man, here you need to go to this academy. And Roberto heard me monotone and loud and still was positive with me and said, here's what you could improve, which could have been 4 out of 5 things, but he gave me 3 positive things for everything to improve. And, just been working with him for such a long time, such a good human, one of my favorite people with his energy, always calls me hermano and always has big hugs and, all that.
He's something else. He really is. Yeah. Michael Drews asked me if I was doing a coloring book. So I don't know what to take of that. I don't know. I didn't get invited to the academy or nothing.
Yeah.
So I want to start this out, man. When I finally actually got to know you, I sit down and here's something you've probably heard before, but I thought I knew a lot of this stuff, and I started listening to you and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And I started noticing that after I listened to it, I started sending it to people that I do business with. And I'm like, listen, man, here's a new way of doing this. But as I do, I'm more on the human behavior side of things, right? It's what churns my butter and meeting extraordinary people and then helping them get out the message that other people need to hear, because I believe most of our wealth is desired and designed by who you know.
It's what you know and who you know, right? Like if you know a lot, but you don't know anyone, it does you no good. And if you know nothing and know a bunch of people, you're probably not getting to hang out with them very much. So it's that combination,
Absolutely. So I'm going to start first of all with your story, because your story is just amazing. I do want to tell our listeners though, and this is something that I thought was real important, because when I do these things, I literally spend a lot of time thinking, man, how do I bring across the best show to get somebody to do it? And I thought, man, can we take one topic and have him get on that iPad and start scribbling those notes, because that is my favorite thing that you do. I mean, I learn the way you conduct all your stuff. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to get his story. We're going to talk about some human behavior things surrounding what you do. And I want to encourage people to go through and literally listen to every YouTube video that you have. It is absolutely mind-blowing how it changed how I think and actually what I do. And I actually thought I had a pretty good handle on it. So again, I appreciate that. But I love to start with the story, man. Give us your story, because everybody just thinks when they hear your name or when they see something that somebody just handed you a pile of cash and said, make it bigger.
I grew up in a little town till 3rd grade, East Carbon, Utah. I think at its heyday which was in the coal mining days, because my grandfathers and dad were coal miners. Think that they had 5,000 people there and 2 cops. Now they have 1,000 people and 5 cops. So that'll tell you the direction that it's headed. As a kid, I didn't know, like, any city seemed big to me. I just didn't really think that I was smart enough necessarily to go be successful, but felt like it would be nice if I could be. And so I was willing to put in a lot of effort. I did the thing that, back in those days, I was like, oh, I'll just get really good grades. Like, I thought that was a big part of the equation, and I think it showed discipline, but I don't know that it necessarily taught me anything other than how to learn and memorize stuff. When I say how to learn, you learn a lot more through experience than you do through, a textbook in a school. I've read really good books that they don't give you in school better than the books that I read in school. They're a little bit more dry and that kind of stuff. And so growing up in a coal mining town, we moved to a bigger city, Price, that had 12,000 people. Pretty cool place to grow up because the people from Price still root for me, cheer me on. I did a little jaunt in comedy, and I had people from my hometown I hadn't seen since I was 18 years old showing up to the shows. And I still go hang out at my cabin with my high school buddies, and a guy that I've known from the first day I was born. He was my neighbor, and we're still good friends. We go hunting together. So I was fortunate to have like these high quality relationships that I still talk to this day. And, I've changed a lot since those early days, but they're cool with who I am. And that's, it doesn't matter what I do or what I don't do. We just have like that friendship and that kinship. And then I went to school at Southern Utah University because I went to this thing that I just dropped my son off at yesterday called Governor's Honors Academy. So Governor's Honors Academy, it's like a 10-day on campus. You're away from your parents as a teenager. They take 50 students across the state. And I met senators and scientists and entrepreneurs and debated and went to plays and all sorts of stuff. And crazy enough, one of my counselors there is now my brother-in-law because I married his sister. So I told my son, no pressure, but like, this is a big deal for me. And then I spoke at it yesterday, which I speak at it every year to kind of pay it forward. But that really changed my life. It stretched my mind. It made me think about bigger possibilities. And the fact that I got in it, I went and presented to raise the funds for it and got money from people in the community and businesses in the community. So you learn a little bit about raising capital. I'd already started this little car detailing business when I was 15 years old and had that when I went to Governor's Honors. And, so it's just like moments like that and teachers that really invested in me. So sometimes people kind of crap on their hometown. I look at it as like, yeah, there's so many people that were my fans when I had nothing to give. They just invested in me. Maybe they saw some potential. Maybe they just saw I was curious and willing to learn. But I had teachers that like Terry Tubbs that said, hey, you got this car detailing business. Let's enter it in a competition. I ended up winning $500 one year, $1,000 another year, $5,000, which by the way, was more than I ever made in that damn business. So like, that was pretty cool. I think that's when I became a speaker, by the way. I was like, dude, I could speak and make money, or I could wash cars. I think I'll do the speaking thing, man. Like this car washing stuff, that sucks on a summer day with a repossessed vehicle from the credit union, and I had a really loving family and still do. Like we just had Father's Day and I wrote a song for my dad, and my wife and I wrote a song for her dad. And, we used AI to put all the musical orchestration to it. We wrote the lyrics. We had both of these men, in tears, which was just pretty cool that I get along so well with my in-laws. I get along so well with my parents and my siblings. My sister works with me, has for, 17 years, always been there by my side. So I feel like the people I love me, which is really important. But I've also had in business 3 or 4 really gnarly situations where the relationships went sideways and where I really struggled with ending the relationship and standing for my value. And, and my wife says, you always just give in and give the money and walk away. I'm like, babe, it's just not worth the opportunity cost and the mental cost and the physical cost. So I'm with you, like relationships are where the riches are, and a relationship can be hard to build sometimes, but certainly easy to lose. And I'm pretty sensitive about those kind of things, but that's all over the place with my story. I'm just trying to give you something that I wouldn't talk about every day.
No, I love it. And even before I get into some meat and potatoes, look, I saw the red baseball uniform from your hometown, right? And then there's
Price National. That was All Stars, man.
Price National
All-Star team,
That looks good. And then, one of the things I like to hit in the fields, and the reason I think this stuff is important is because I don't think you get to the level of wealth that you got to if you don't know how to navigate relationships. And one of the ones that I always find the most interesting is it's going to hit you in the feels. Cry if you want, always helps ratings. But, when there's the interview with your parents, right, they made a statement that said, if anybody was going to do it, it was going to be you. And man, when I hear stuff like that, it tells me almost everything I need to know, right? Like They know there's a passion, they know there's a dream, and they know there's no quit. If anybody's going to do it, it's you. Parents proud of you?
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I mean, when they watch me go through these tough situations with relationships, they're like, my mom's always like, gets a little defensive, and like, why don't I learn, or why do I let people take advantage? So she definitely, because my mom quit her job to come help me when my business started growing. I was like, I need someone in the accounting side I can trust. My guy's not always paying on time. He's busy. He's not good. And I mean, what she did for me that way, I just told her, I said, hey, if someone's going to embezzle for me, I want it to be you. I mean, I did that basically for 18 years when I lived at home. So it would just be payback. And even better is, I once had a client that painted a portrait of me, like if I was a real rich, douchey person, right? Like if I walk in my house and there's a picture of me over a mantle with a tobacco pipe, but he painted this portrait. And I was like, I don't know what to do with this. If I put it in my house, I'm just going to get made fun of by every friend and family member, especially my wife and kids and my sister. My little sister is really funny. So I was like, I just put it up in my mom's office. I'm like, I'm looking over your shoulder, Yeah.
Mine didn't have a cigar and it is over the mantle. So maybe I need to change the way I think or something. That's awesome, man. Tell me, so when I'm watching all of your videos, right? Like, I'm showing the human side of you, but man, the moment you pull up that tablet and you start writing down and people start talking about wealth, this machine comes out. What's your drive on that?
Money is one of the greatest excuses for people not to live a good life. It's one of the things that instead of being an asset and an ally is kind of like an enemy for people. And if they don't create financial intelligence, they pay a lifetime penalty. And that penalty can harm their relationships, their personal psyche, the value that they bring to the world. Like there are so many factors. And for whatever reason, like when I was young and I would try to learn about technology, it just didn't register well. I didn't remember all the acronyms. I was like, I would just be like, I don't know what they're talking about some of the time. But when people would talk about anything money, it just I just remembered it. I just could think about it. And early on, I met this young guy. I was in my early 20s, maybe like 20, 21. I met this guy who's probably like 30. And he was wearing flip-flops and a Harley t-shirt and shorts in winter. I mean, just like, I'm like, bro, I don't get it. I'm wearing this like boring financial thing. I mean, what most people consider boring. This guy was talking about this book called Opportunity Cost in Accounting and Finance. And he was debating the instructor, who's like a 60-year-old guy. And the guy's giving him respect and saying he's making good points. So we walk towards the bathroom and start talking and tell him some of the things I'm doing. He's like, that's pretty fascinating. We should do a study group. And so, we got together and we started to study, but we made a decision day one. We're more committed to what's right than who's right. We're going to have to check our egos at the door here and just say, if there wasn't compensation on anything we're looking at, what would be the best thing for someone if we weren't the ones selling it? And look, the best news for us would have been that 401k would have been the best thing. Because if we had a big 401k book of business, we could sell that for 12 to 15 times EBITDA down the road. You get paid every year on a fee. You get paid whether it goes up or down. And we're about, 30 minutes in, and we're like, might be the best thing that's ever been created, right? That's where we were 30 minutes in. And so we're like, well, what could be wrong with this? Let's just say that we have to be the devil's advocate. Like, what would be wrong? And we, after 4.5 hours, came up with 15 problems. And then we're like, this is not good at all. It maybe makes sense 1 in 100 times, and 99 out of 100 times is what people are being sold. It would have been easy if we would have just said, this is going to be profitable for us, let's sell it. It was harder to do what we did. But I think that really shaped us. And then the study group grew to 150 people, and it became me debating accountants in front of everybody. And it became this whole really cool thing where people started bringing me business. I was a kid and I got to be a better speaker. And it just developed the philosophy of like, if I just give the best I can and give freely, I feel that karma will take care of the rest. I don't have to worry about whether I'm compensated on one transaction or what happens. And what ended up happening is people would say, I want to see how you work with clients. And I'm like, all right, pay me $2,500 for the day. Again, I'm like in my early 20s. So there's like 40-year-old dudes watching me with clients. The client comes in, I look too young to do what I do. But they're giving me all this credibility and they paid me to be there. And then I run into one of them at a movie theater with my parents. And he's like, your son's like what Tiger Woods is to golf, he's to finance. And they're just like, damn. And I'm like, Yeah, I feel the same way, but it was because I was willing to share. It's not that I had extraordinary ability. I had good ability. I had extraordinary work ethic, and I had an extraordinary ability to share. And a lot of people, because they don't share, they suffer and they don't get all those connections. They don't. And then what would happen? Like, I know so much about tax, and I've never even looked at a tax return. I know so much about tax because every time I talk about it, someone comes up to me and says, do you know about this? And I'm like, I'll look into it. Or, hey, I've done this. And like, I probably learned 2/3 of my tax strategies by speaking at events, and other financial people come and share with me because, again, I led with value. I gave what I could. And I went back to that early philosophy of, we're going to be committed to what's right, not who's right. And if we're wrong, we're just going to admit it. And that was one of the harder moments of my life because I was a young, arrogant dick. And basically, the year 2000 starts going on, and I have all these people in the stock market, and it's going down, and everybody I'm learning from is saying, tell them it's on sale. I'm like, well, the sell would have been nice to know about, like, before we bought. And then they're like, tell them they're in it for the long haul. I'm like, who the hell wants to be in it for the long haul? You know, that sounds like a terrible workout you never get through. So I just was like a curious person. And so finally, by May of 2000, I contacted every one of my clients and said, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never met the fund manager. I just give you the chart. I hand the money over. They pay me a commission, and I have no clue like when this is going to go up, when it's going to go down, what it's going to do long term. They always make me tell you past performance, not an indicator of future result, which then why am I showing you any of this stuff if it's not an indicator of future result? And everyone but one person got their money out of the market, and the market went down for 2.5 more years. And so it was hard to do that. It was hard to have those conversations. But it was those two things that I think shaped how I behave in finance. And look, I've made mistakes. I got greedy in my mid-20s. Someone once said, oh man, why aren't you getting paid on this capital you raised for developments? Why aren't you having your own fund? Now, first off, I've just seen people like, that aren't fund managers. Like if I'm meeting with clients all day, I'm not a fund manager. I'm just not. Like I'm not in spreadsheets. I'm not running analysis. I'm more like building infrastructure and getting a financial house in order and asking them what's important to them. I'm more about a personal advocate. And I got into the greed of it. And I remember how I felt in my body, like just like the FOMO, the like, yeah, man, I'm making everybody rich, but not me. And I got involved in this money management. And in 2008, I gave more than the money I ever made back because I was outside of my expertise, because I let greed rule me, not going back to like, how do I create stability, security, cash flow, fitness? Like, what are my values? I lost track because I was blinded by the greed. And, it's shaped me again because I've just passed a lot of opportunity that may not have been real opportunity, but was seductive as hell because I know who I am now. And I would rather be wealthy in the ability to be present and connected to someone than chasing something that's not even close to interesting to me just because it can make money.
Man, I hope they rewind it and play that like 100 times. What is your opinion and or experience observation about mentality surrounding money and wealth?
It's interesting how there's new money and there's old money. And sometimes the problem with old money is it's very exclusive and controlling and closed door. The problem with new money is it's very naive and it chases things that end up costing it big time. New money is often sloppy. New money often is trying to prove their wealth and their worth through what they earn. And so the mindset around it is more. I've got to have more, because if I have more, then I'll be liked, then I'll be respected, then I'll be desired, then I'll be like all of the things that we hear in every rap song and that we see in every stupid commercial and that we are indoctrinated with, where we think our value's outside of ourselves. Old money, they're much more mature about like how they invest, that's for sure, and who they invest with. I came from a small town, so when I started my business, I hired friends. They weren't qualified for the job. They were convenient for the job until they weren't, and then I invested in things early on in my career with people that weren't old money, and they were doing really well because the market was doing well, not because they were doing well. They were riding the luck and the wave. Old money has really good attorneys. New money uses ChatGPT. I mean, it's like, it's just that, the problems with old money is again, like sometimes it's not always used in the best of ways, but it's around to stay because there is a set of governance, a set of standards, a set of principles, a set of of protections. And a lot of people miss that. And so a lot of people's money mindset is in the really broke world is it's bad, it's wrong, it's dirty, it's filthy, it's all of those things. And so of course they don't have enough of it because they think that if they do, it makes them bad. All money is a byproduct of value creation. It's a store of value. It's just an efficient tool that we can exchange with one another. It doesn't represent who we are. It just accounts for the value we created in the past, or even the luck that we had in the past, because we may have inherited it. We may have, got lucky with something. And sometimes that's the most dangerous thing to do, is get lucky with something, because it's like, oh, I got lucky. We just drove yesterday by the first apartment I bought. I was 19 years old, just turning 20. And my mom signed for a champ loan, which meant I didn't have a down payment. I bought a townhome. And in that townhome, I bought it for like $96,000. And then when I sold it after college, I made 176. So I paid off the 96, so I made a good amount of money, almost 80 grand. I thought that's pretty cool. And then my brother-in-law, now friend then, was like, hey, I need 25 grand for this real estate deal. I'm going to pay back 50 grand in 3 months. And he did. And I'm like, damn, I'm so good at this money game. And the third deal, my buddy Joe comes, he's like, you know what? I got a friend. He's late on his payments. I just got him a job with me. He's going to be able to make his payments now, but he's so far behind, the bank's going to foreclose. So I went in, I bought the house, I rented it to him. And then I walked away with 90 grand when he refinanced 2.5 years later, when he improved his credit. So I'm thinking 3 for 3, all ridiculous returns, no money down on the first one, made almost 80 grand, 25 grand, made 25 grand 3 months later. The next one, no money down, made 90 grand. I'm like Midas. I'm so incredible. Like, how smart am I? So I'm like, if 3 work, then I should do 300. And I didn't quite get to 300 because by 2008, I had like 119. And I was 1 quarter, my net worth went up by over 1.7 million. I'm thinking, dude, I'm killing it. And then in 1 year, my net worth went from 8 million to 0. So that was a really, and I did the douchiest interview of my life. I had this magazine come and interview me, and they're like, put me in my Bentley and my Escalade on the cover. I had a picture of these like boots with a cross on them, like thinking I'm cool as shit. And then they asked me the question, like, well, what motivates you? And I'm like, well, I'm just here to give it back. Like, I've had so much success, and I gave it back to the effing bank, not to people. And so I felt like I had to learn a lesson. Like, even that same week, we went to this nice hotel, and we were eating at a restaurant. They didn't park my Bentley up front. And I turned to my wife. I'm like, what's wrong with them? She's like, what's wrong with you? You're really kind of an ass. And I was like, I don't like it that she's saying this. It probably means she's right. If I'm this defensive about it, I probably need to look at it. So look, I didn't go through enlightened. I didn't have this all figured out. I've had to understand some of my money blocks, and a lot of people, it's about understanding their worthiness. And I'll just say this, that our bank account doesn't reflect our potential or dictate our destiny. It's just a temporary thing, in the moment.
I love it, man. I love that. There's always that one person who tends to set us where we need to be, and unfortunately, it's usually our wives, right? It's like, oh shit, all right, yeah.
She usually is pretty soft about it, but every now and again.
Oh man, here's where I want to go in. Yeah, when we talk about wealth and so on and so forth, you get a lot of this stuff where people ask me all the time, how do you know that person? How do you know that person? And they don't realize that it took me 30 years to get here, or a time to get to a Garrett Gunderson, right? And when it comes to your social network, that's one of the things that I value as one of my highest assets. So that's where all of my opportunities have come from, is me creating a bigger social network. Talk to us about that.
I feel really fortunate. Like, I'll get really raw here. All right. So I have this friend for 20 years that's been instrumental in multiple times in my life in writing a book with me, in stepping up when I was, selling a company and starting something new. And he's handing off some of his responsibilities in my organization to someone else, and something got missed. And instead of me just saying, hey, not a big deal, I just got on the phone with him and was having a bad day. And I was like, kind of all over him about it. And, we got to what I thought was a good place at the end of the call. But then he just sent me on Father's Day this message. It was like, hey,
we need some boundaries, and here's my boundaries. We're not doing calls after hours. We're not sending out newsletters late. Like, just create these boundaries. And then said, I'm fine doing this, this, and this, but I'm no longer doing this. And I said, it hit me. I was like, man, when I read it, it was just very black and white. And I'm always teasing, and I had said something that hurt his feelings too. So I was like, I felt bad about that. So I was like, can you meet at 7 a.m. tomorrow, just because I'm getting on a flight? And he did. And I like that. And I just, in the conversation, I listened to him. I'm not a good listener. I'm a great talker. So my wife's a great listener. So I work on that. Sometimes she grabs my knee under the table. You know what I'm saying? Like, one time she's like, hey, let our friends talk tonight. You talk too much. I'm like, great. I'm going to work on it. And we're at dinner, and I say the first thing, and she grabs my knee, and I'm like, it's been like 20 minutes. She's like, oh, I was just grabbing it like as a loving, not as a, you need to be quiet. I'm like, it's like Pavlovian. So basically, after listening to him and apologizing and owning it, I put my money where my mouth was on some stuff and said, I didn't value you enough here. So here's this. You deserve it. This is a start. Let's look at this. And then he said some things that I didn't think. I was like, I can take responsibility for everything but this one thing. I'm like, I think you're projecting, but I'm not going to fight about it. I know he called that night. We had a beautiful conversation. He's like, you know what? You're right. I was just trying to hurt you because I was frustrated, and I'm so sorry. And we are now 1 week removed from it, not even a week. And we're just in the best place with so much respect and like so much more partnership, And I think it's amazing when someone just can say, like when he said, I'm sorry, it was like, man. And this is a big lesson for me, because I also had it's just one of those weeks. I had someone I have a 25-year relationship with that I haven't been referring business to. And he found out through someone else. And he looked up where I'm taking my personal business, and it's not him. And he's like, hey man, we've been friends for a long time. Like, what's going on? I'm like, well, I feel like sometimes you undermine me and say things that, make me, that you disagree with to my clients that I refer you. And it's semantics. You say it one way, I said it another way. But the way you say it, I got someone that said it was egregious, and I was just tired of putting myself in that situation. And he got pretty harsh for a minute. I kind of elevated for a second just on text. And then all of a sudden he's like, dude, I just want to let you know I actually love you. And I don't tell men that very often. And then I immediately went, all right, I'm sorry. I should have talked to you about the situation. But you're an attorney and you win every argument. I was just like, what? But now, and here's what's crazy. I was coming in from Nashville. He's coming in from New York. Both of our flights delayed. Don't know it. We end up at the airport at the same time just 2 nights ago. I grab him, we give him a hug, and we're going to meet on Tuesday. See, relationships take that sometimes, because we have our own emotions, we have our own circumstances, situations. And ultimately, what I want to do better is I just want to really see people, hear them, and have them feel safe. And I want to acknowledge them for who they are. And when I don't do that, they feel hurt, because I am pretty generous with compliments, and I do have a big personality, and I do uplift people, that if I take that away, that feels like there's something missing. And sometimes I discount that and the impact that I have there. And I think everyone discounts their impact to some degree, because we dismiss just how valuable we are. I've learned some huge lessons. Like, these are the big ones I've learned lately. Number one, if you don't stand for your value, then people will continue to creep in on it. And it's hard to do that sometimes. Number two, nothing like a small mind to kill a big vision. And if someone might be helpful in certain phases and then harmful in later phases, they might be good in, early phases because it's how they're built, but then they don't have the skill sets for something that might be scalable, or something that might require management, or something that might require hiring, or something that might require systems. Like, everyone has their own skill sets. And so sometimes we partner where we should have employed. And sometimes we discount where we're going to be in 5 years because we look at our value today instead of where we're headed. And so I always want people that bring a tailwind, not a headwind. I want to be positively challenged if I'm off and not seeing things clearly. I think healthy debate's good. Stephen Palmer and I have had many healthy debates over the years, who helped me write Killing Sacred Cows, and it helps us to refine our thinking. There's certain things that it's funny because sometimes he'll make a point and I'll disagree, and then I'll be disagreeing, and then I realize what he's saying and I go, oh yeah, that's a good point. Right. And then there's other times I'll say something. He's like, I don't know if you can do that. And then he's halfway through the sentence. He's like, actually, it would be pretty easy. Right. So it's like, sometimes we do it in front of people sometimes at events. And then, and because we know each other's heart, I think it's pretty good. But these lessons also are, just because things are good now doesn't mean everything's going to go according to plan. And so I really want to mature in that I have really good attorneys and have multiple look at things that I do. It slows the process down early on, but it keeps the process moving long term. And it's really critical. Don't save pennies to lose dollars is really the thing. And when people can help you think through things when they're not attached or they're from the outside, so that when things because this is the hardest time to solve the problem is when you're deep in it. It's easier when there isn't high emotions to think, well, what we do in these certain cases and have certain playbooks for it. And you can't prepare for everything necessarily, but you can at least get the nature of things and the spirit of things and encapsulate that. So if there is a disagreement, and I find when people feel like they don't have a big future, they hold on to the past, and those are the ones that are the headwinds. They just really are. And if I constantly evolve, and I constantly invest in myself, and I constantly have new vision, and I constantly want to, it's like, I want to make bigger impact. I want to have more reach. I want to do things that are more creative. And so I want to make sure that if I'm in business with someone, that they feel the same way, because I bought a business in 2014, and the partner that I ended up with a partner when I bought it. And immediately after the transaction, he went to Hawaii, and he went there for 3 weeks. And then from there, he went to culinary school in San Francisco. And I'm running events, and I'm working 12-hour days. And I was like, wait, I was working 8 hours before, and now I'm at 12, and now I'm splitting half the cost. And so we went through mediation, and that was really hard on me because it's very emotional. And, you'd think I would learn a lesson, but then I sell my business and don't even have the attorney look at the contract, because I'm like, well, I've known this guy for a long time. Turns out, I knew him when I was in control of the business. Everything changed when I wasn't in control of the business. And so, those types of deals matter. And by the way, I would never let a client do that. So I was a little bit embarrassed about it when I did it myself. But it also helps me to be a better coach, also helps me to be a better advisor, because I can be an advocate for someone and a stand for someone. And I've met with people just this year where they're going through tough situations in businesses, and I can give them such good advice because I've been through it. Because I know where the blind spots are. I know that they're emotional, and I'm kind of on the outside. So yeah, I've had a year of a lot of profound lessons and also profound momentum. So I'm on a great trajectory. I have one little thing I'm dealing with, but that's part of life. How can you be happy when things aren't exactly going the way you want? That's the science. That's like the art and science I'm working at in life.
You talk about old money, you talk about new money, right? And, of course, I'm gray as all hell. It's not just the lighting in here. It's true color, man. And
I got just a bit of gray myself, as you can see.
Yours looks better for some reason, though, man. I got to go. I just don't think I can pull off long hair. But the, when it comes to vocation, people, there's still an old mentality, right? Like, I have a daughter in college, and it's like, people don't understand building wealth anymore. It used to be work a good job, get a license of something, save it, it's just different now. Tell me how you feel about universities, and how do you feel about, having to do something, or a lot of people really are doing something that somebody else told them to do, not what they wanted to do. Talk about that.
Yeah, like we're driving with my son, and I'm thinking, okay, I got 3.5 hours to try to communicate with him. It was a little early, so it wasn't. My wife ended the lecture circuit about halfway through the drive, like let him sleep. Part of it was I said, hey, dude, I know you're really working hard and you're getting a 4.0 or 3.99, and that's amazing, but take a lot of that effort and put it into AI. Your grades don't matter. I mean, they just don't. I'm like, I get it. You want to go to you want to go to a good college, so I guess they matter to get into that college, but college isn't preparing you for the world, other than you're going to build relationships, meet friends, have fun. But I took general education classes years ago, and they were teaching the food pyramid. I was smart enough to know that was stupid. I took personal finance. It was in direct opposition to corporate finance. I was able to discern and see the difference between the two. So I saw a lot of those things. I did have this really good experience where I met professors that were instrumental in my life. Kim Kraft was a econometrics professor who helped me understand finance at a much deeper level. Alan Hamlin understood, economics so well. I mean, he was tough as nails, but like I got good because of it. Steve Harrop gave our class $250,000 to invest, and then we got graded based upon our actual investments against benchmarks. I mean, it was more the relationships that I built than it was what I learned in the classroom. I mean, I played racquetball with Steve and learned from him because he managed $5 billion in municipal bond funds before he became a professor. And so that's where the format's really good. We're talking the whole drive home. Well, half the drive home. What university should our son go to? We've heard really negative things about the university close to our house being overly woke. Where there's some one of the things ChatGPT said was Texas A&M. I have a business partner that went there and loved it. So I'm like, maybe that's going to be a good fit for him. But my wife's like, I don't want him moving out of state. Maybe she'd go to school down where we're taking him right now. And I'm like, well, he's not Mormon and about, there's a Mormon school down there. So it's like, there's no quite perfect thing, but 90% of what matters is what they learn out of the classroom and what they learn through entrepreneurship and mentors, being mentored by someone and going out there. Even when I was in school, I was 19 years old and I was going to learn about this thing called lifetime economic acceleration process. And I was traveling all the time, like 12, 13 times a year to go to their courses outside the university, paying more than I was paying for the university. And so I think that's really what we have to take is education isn't a classroom thing. It's a lifetime thing. And it's in every conversation that's inspiring and every conversation that helps us to refine our thought process, every person that shows us a new perspective and way, and then going out there and figuring out how can we do things to become more valuable. I think it's crazy that people are so worried about the future. They're worried about the future because they think my job is going to be irrelevant. And that might be true that their job will be irrelevant, but they won't be irrelevant if they learn to be value creators. So what happens is we're beginning these tools that, if you give me a bow, I can kill animals with a bow. Other people that never shot it, they'd be like afraid to pull it back, not knowing, I had to pull it back the first time. I went and got a coach and I said, I had 33 days to prepare for a hunt. I went 5 days a week. I shot 15 shots 3 times a day. And I ended up getting elk on my first time. It was because of preparation. It wasn't because I was like some amazing person shooting a bow, because the person I went with was a champion of those run and shoot your bow in Montana, Utah, Wyoming, and I got an elk. So there's a little bit of luck too, but I used the tool and I stopped fearing it. People need to use the tools of AI so they become more valuable instead of thinking AI is going to take their value. And if they can just transform that and create an exciting future, if a university is part of that future, okay. For me, my oldest son said, I want to go to university. I was like, cool, I'm good with that. Let's not waste your time. You can be at Gunderson University. You're going on trips with me. You're going to meet all these entrepreneurs. You're going to edit my videos. And that's going to be some of your education is the things that I'm teaching. And then I've told them now, I'm like, hey man, AI is coming for your job as an editor. So what are you going to do next? Let's figure it out,
Oh man, that was excellent. Everybody needs to hear that 10 times. When we come up with the next segment is the financial world, right? So it's your finances. Is it better to be rich or is it better to be poor?
Well, for me, it's way better to be rich. I mean, you can be poor and miserable and rich and miserable for sure. But I'd rather be rich and miserable. I'd rather be, rich and happy than miserable on either side. It's just, why not be rich? I mean, it means that you've served enough people or solved big enough problems or add enough value or had enough impact. So it's weird how many people have disdain for billionaires. It's like this epidemic out in the world, like, oh, they're a billionaire. They took too much. I'm like, no, they actually gave so much that they made over $1 billion or have over $1 billion. It's not that they, if someone created $10 of value, they charged $1 to 1 billion people. So all those people were $10 richer because of the value they got. We're going to penalize the person that just created that because they have $1 billion. That's insane, but that's what most of the world thinks because they think that profit is evidence of deception and coercion, not evidence of value creation. And I think we're stuck in a finite pie that if one person has something, it's less for another, not realizing that dollars can exchange hands over and over and over again. And we're exponentially more wealthy today than even 100 years ago or 200 years ago or 500 years ago, because we continue to build upon value, become more efficient. And there's more and more people that have learned how to be a lot more effective because we have more tools and resources. If we go back to the 15th century when the Gutenberg press came out, people were out of their mind. They're like, this is going to ruin the world. It actually democratized education and gave access to knowledge. And guess what? It was an explosion of value. Yes, scribes lost work, but there were new jobs created that didn't even exist before. And that's what people have to remember. Don't hold on to the past, but create the future. Learn from the past, but don't be held captive by it.
What I've got from you today is, again, invest in yourself, understanding that you are the investment to great wealth. And then I want to really mention here your books, Killing Sacred Cows, Money Unmasked, What Would the Rockefellers Do, Disrupting Sacred Cows, and I Am Money. One of the things that I want people to do in this segment, if you loved hearing Garrett Gunderson and you found the value in him that I did, go on to all of his YouTube channels, check out everything that he does. It is mind-blowing. It will change you. Even if you feel that you know what you're doing, you don't. You will find that he gives you some insanely good value. Garrett, love you, man. I appreciate the time. I know you're a busy guy. And taking the time to come on this show. I appreciate you.
Have a great day, man.
All right. I appreciate you, man.
So good to get to hang with you, man. There was definitely a highlight today.
I appreciate you.
Later.
All right. Bye.